What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Today I've got for you two revenge stories that you're gonna love. The first is about a horrible entitled couple who try to utilize their own church to get exactly what they want from their daughter-in-law. The second story probably has the most annoying single act that I can remember. If it happened to me, I genuinely don't think I would believe what I was seeing. So sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed if you go on to enjoy these stories. Let's get into the first one. My ex-mother-in-law sent her church friends to harass my daughters and me. I have now exposed her family to her church community, and she's getting shamed and shunned at church. I am a 46-year-old woman, and my daughters, who are 17 and 15, have a strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents, who are 78 and 80. My ex passed away in an accident last year, and we've had some major family drama since, due to his cheating and him leaving two boys born with his affair partner orphaned. She also died. Part of the drama has been my ex-in-laws trying to get custody of my daughters, and them also trying to live with us. First one we're going to court over, the second one will never happen. Where we live, there's a weekend market with fresh produce, eggs, meats, and other products straight from farmers. This week was extra special since it was my youngest birthday. Since her party is later in the month, I decided to give her a budget and set her loose on the market to get whatever she wanted, mostly chocolate and sweets. After an hour, I did start getting worried, and just before I called her, she called me. She was crying, saying some weird people have cornered her. I ran to her with my oldest daughter to find 6 older women berating my daughter for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her paternal grandparents, or for wanting to be a, quote, good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers. My daughters are the ones that found out about my ex cheating and the babies, so they're not fond of the kids. It's trauma, and they are working with a therapist. I got between the group and my daughter, telling my eldest to go and pay for the stuff that her sister had and to go to the car. Then I turned to the women, some who I knew from when we went to my ex-in-law's church, and I ripped them a new one. They told me I was worse for refusing to obey my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. Eventually the screaming turned too loud and we were all asked to leave the market. I met with my girls in the car, the women following me like a group of vultures. I managed to get in the car and I drove away. After my girls went to bed, I got online to talk to another member of that church that I'm on good terms with. I told him about what happened, and after he apologized, he told me just what was going on. My ex-mother-in-law posted this massive story in the church's Facebook group about how horrible my daughters and I are, how we are leaving them homeless and penniless. They inherited my ex's personal bank account and his life insurance, and how my daughters don't even talk to them. She also accused us of being the reasons she lost her grandsons. The boys are now living with distant relatives of my ex-husband. Basically, it was a sob story worthy of a Hallmark movie, and of course, they were getting all the love and support from the more extremist members of their church. This church and its members are a bit annoying, especially with LGBTQ+ topics, but they have a small saving grace. They're incredibly strict about cheating. It's a big no-no, be it from a husband or a wife equally. Now, how did she get around blaming me about affair children without exposing the cheating? She claimed the other woman was our surrogate since I was unable to have more children. Then said I didn't want the babies because they were boys, which is an absolutely disgusting thing to be accused of. Well, I decided it was time to clean up this mess, and since I was mid-divorce when my ex died, I had all the evidence I needed. And since the divorce wasn't completed, I don't have any legal ramification for releasing all the evidence. I was off the next day, and I went to a print shop to get copies of all the delightful pictures of my ex cheating. His text conversations with his affair partner, the ones with his parents confessing to his cheating and getting support from them, my ex-in-laws harassing me about the divorce, and my coup de grace, all the emails and text messages of them bullying my daughters about their baby brothers. In one of them, they call my daughters, insert swear word here, basically the word you use if you are born out of wedlock, I can't say it on YouTube though, telling them it was their fault their father died since they told me about the affair and I began the divorce. This one was literally 2 days after he died. I paid extra for all of this to be printed in beautiful high quality paper. Then when I got home, I sat down for hours to make delightfully personalized binders. They look like the little prayer song packets the church give for everyone to take to sing hymns. The first picture when opening the binders is my ex and his side woman making out in our living room. Their faces are easy to discern, and the girl looks nothing like me. Different skin tone, hair colour. Underneath, I wrote ex-husband's name and affair girl's name, love story. I took them to the church before service. There's a desk in the back with the songbooks for people that need/forget their own, and they never checked them. The gossip mill was quick and harsh. The names my ex and his affair partner got called in the Facebook group were so bad that the pastor himself had to get involved just to keep things relatively PG. People were angry at my ex-in-laws for their abuse to my daughters, but what made me laugh was that I was still in the wrong for the divorce. But, quote, it is understandable that I failed on my duties after the shock, and I possibly will one day return to the light, unlike my cheating husband and his Jezebel. They actually used another word that I can't use here, I imagine. I got 2 apology letters in the mail for my girl and an invitation to join the church for support. As for my ex-in-laws, they got shamed into leaving the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a post on her wall about how alienated she feels and how no one cares for the elderly anymore. How she wished her great son was still alive since he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money, I don't know, since I was the breadwinner. And there we go, that is the end of that story. Before I give my thoughts, finally OP has added this, a quick explanation on the will. My ex-husband had a will that named his parents as beneficiaries. As far as I was aware, he had told me he had named our daughters, not them. I never pushed for me to be the beneficiary, as my own will has my daughters as the beneficiaries and not him. So yeah, there we go. That is it for the story, and that will and the explanation makes complete sense to me. I'm not sure about having your parents as beneficiaries, but that's up to your ex-husband, and everyone's will is different. That's very fair enough. The thing that's crazy to me is that your ex-husband's parents at the ages of 78 and 80 are still so active. It's not as if they've sort of chilled out in their old age and they're living their life. They're, I assume, retired now, just happily going to church, and yeah, maybe the stresses of life have passed them by this point. No, they are as active and sort of crazy as ever. As I'm saying this, I am remembering the fact that, of course, their son has recently passed away. However, I don't think that is an excuse for them to act like this and potentially ruin your life and start some weird online sort of cult against you from the church. It's very, very odd behavior. I get it a little bit given what's happened, but not to this extent. I mean, having 6 women attack your daughter in public is actually ridiculous. Like, that's bordering on potentially illegal. But there we go. I'm thankful that in the end, the truth came out. But for a while there, I was very worried about your safety and that of your children. Now for our next revenge story. Steal a parking spot from a disabled person. Pay up, Karen. This is not my story, but my mum's, who is 58 years old. Last week, I went to Costco to run some errands. I have a GI condition, which allows me to park in the disabled parking space. So I start the parking in one of the only spots until I see a van, which also has a disability placard hanging from their mirror. I figured since they have a van, they must have a person in need of a wheelchair inside. So I figured I can walk a few more feet. They deserve this spot more than me. I started backing out of my car when all of a sudden, enter entitled Karen. As I backed out to give the van space to park, a woman in a pristine Cadillac sedan without a disabled parking placard whips in between my car and the van to park in the disabled parking spot. Oh my goodness. Both the driver in that van and I were angry, understandably so, but she was the only one who got out of her car and let the lady have it. I'm usually the pick your own battles type of person, so I backed off. I still watched from a distance. The Karen starts going off on her, probably projecting. I couldn't hear everything that was being said, but I knew no matter what it was, you couldn't defend her actions. I did notice that on her bumper was a Canadian license plate. We live in Florida. This will come into play a little bit later, but at the time I thought it was funny, given the fact that people stereotype Canadians as being overtly friendly, which was the polar opposite of this lady's demeanour. I've got to interject here. There is nothing worse than when you are waiting to park in a spot that somebody else is going out of. You've been queuing, and then as that person leaves, another car jumps the queue and jumps into that spot. Apart from if it's a disabled spot and you're giving it to somebody else who has a disabled sticker. and then someone else who doesn't have a disabled sticker jumps in front of them. I didn't think it could get worse than someone stealing my spot, but that is somehow even worse. Anyway, let's get back to the story. Canada Karen storms off inside to do her shopping or whatever, and the van lady picked up her phone and started calling someone, probably the police. I wanted to tell her that she'd be better off getting an employee because it would take a long time for dispatch to send someone here, since honestly, our PD is usually lazy as heck, and Karen may have gone by then. But very strangely enough, it didn't even take more than 5 minutes for one of the patrol units to show up. Canada Karen didn't even arrive back at her car until a few minutes after the cop was here. This time, I was outside giving the police officer my side of the story, considering that I was a witness. Canada Karen, of course, got into a tiff, and here is how it went. The officer said, "Mom, you do understand that 1, you almost hit these 2 vehicles, and 2, you cannot park in a disabled parking spot if you are not authorized or don't have a placard." Karen replied, "Oh no, you're entirely misreading the situation. These 2 were fighting over the spot, and while they were, I just pulled in. No harm done, right?" Ugh, the gaslighting. No, I said. I was letting her park because she needed the spot more than I did, while I motioned over at van lady's grandson to hopefully give her a hint. He actually had cerebral palsy and is wheelchair bound. Clearly, you don't even look disabled, Karen said. A typical Karen phrase. If she could park here, then why can't I park here too? Mom, I noticed you have Ontario plates, said the officer. How long have you been in the States? Canada Karen then starts sweating bullets. She probably thought he was going to question her legal status or something. Well, you see, I moved in with my husband. He's American, and... Mom, this car is registered to you, not your husband. And you haven't answered my question. How long have you lived here in the States? Oh, about a year. Big mistake. Mom, you understand that according to federal law, any non-US citizen living in the States longer than a 30-day period must register their vehicle within 30 days of entering the country, correct? If Karen's jaw dropped any lower at that moment, it would have fallen off. I'm afraid I will have to write you up on a $500 fine for inability to register within 30 days of entry, and additionally, a $250 fine for unauthorized parking in a disability parking space. When they handed Canada Karen her ticket, she snatched it out of his hand and stormed back into her car, still angry but now more embarrassed. Before I left the scene to finally go shopping, I went up to van lady and I asked her if she needed any more help. She said she was alright and thanked me. I told her it was amazing how quickly the cops showed up, and then she laid this on me. Apparently, she didn't dial 911. She called her son, who was the police chief of our town, who just so happened to be her grandson's, the boy with cerebral palsy's, father. As a mum who has a son on the spectrum, I know this more than anything. Hell hath no fury like a parent when their child with special needs is mistreated. Once he heard that this crazy lady stole a parking spot from his own son, who needed that spot and wasn't able to defend himself, he immediately had a squad car sent out to hopefully de-escalate the situation, and our police station was just up the road. Luckily, once Karen left with a $750 a-hole tax in tow, van lady and her grandson were able to park in the spot and continue on with their day, and me with mine. Moral of the story, don't create drama if you don't want karma. Oh, that has got a great ring to it. Okay, I'm not even just saying this. Do you guys want to see that on a t-shirt? Don't create drama if you don't want karma. That is class. That is genuinely class. How have I never heard that, right? I've been doing this for over 6 years now, and despite all the thousands of stories that I've read, not one person has ever said that sentence, I don't think. It's genuinely genius. Draw me a comment. If I did a nice little design, had that on a t-shirt, would some of you like it? I've not actually released any sort of merch or anything for a very, very long time, and if you've been around on the channel for a while, you'll know that some of my stuff, and you've really enjoyed it, has been really popular. If you think back to COVID, I released a face mask that sold genuinely thousands. You guys absolutely loved that one. The profits all went to charity, but you guys absolutely loved it. It sold thousands of copies, I suppose, thousands of masks. I've done Redditor merch in general. I've also done Not Today, Karen, on a jumper before. So You know, we can do whatever. Do you want a don't create drama if you don't want karma t-shirt? Comment down below. I want one. I might just make it for myself. Genuinely. But there we go. That is going to do it for this one. I can't quite believe that woman did it and then thought, well, I thought you were fighting for a spot. I'll get away with it. After seeing that you both had disabled stickers. Like, it's ridiculous. But there we go. That is the beauty of Karens. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you on the next one.